Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the After the Frame podcast. My name is Malik, and I am joined, as always, by.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And today we are going to be reviewing Masters of the Universe, Scary Movie 6, or just Scary Movie, and Toy Story 5, that at the time of recording just came out this weekend. So, which one do you want to tackle first? Do you have anyone in particular that you really want to talk about?
Particularly, whichever direction we want to go in, I can garner my notes and we can roll.
Okay, I mean, we can start with Toy Story 5 since that's the newest one coming out. What were your thoughts on the previous Toy Story movies? How do you take it as a franchise? And do you think that 4 and 5 are cash grabs or were they worth it?
It's a lot. So starting with Toy Story 1, in my opinion, that is one of a handful of perfect movies that I would change, absolutely nothing. Um, Toy Story 2 is a bit of a step down from that, but still very good. Um, and then, it comes back to resurge, after a long gap between 2 and 3. And 3 is, an almost perfect movie. And I honestly think the franchise should have ended there. Because
I
the
agree.
the highest of moments and, close the loop type in storytelling was all there in 3. And I thought, I would have been more than happy to end it there. I mean, granted, I was only a kid when it came out, but, as I got older and, a couple years go by and hey, Toy Story 4 is coming out. Like, I'm like, why? Like you had the perfect ending. Um, that being said, um, like Toy Story 4 and 5, like while I don't think needed to be made, I will say, uh, in the marketing and bit of kind of like the storytelling that they were leading up prior to release, it felt like this one they had a bit more of a plan for rather than for. So my take, without going into what I liked and didn't like yet, um, I think this one has more staying power than four. So
Yeah, I agree with that. This 5 was a pleasant surprise for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I feel like it was, I kind of was for with 4, take it or leave it. Like it wasn't the worst Pixar movie or the worst movie ever, but it was definitely a movie that I felt like didn't need to be made and it didn't really do anything for me with like the characters. I know some people are really into, it being more of a character study of Woody and dealing with like, where you belong in the universe and what it means to belong and all of that. But it just didn't really speak to me, not nearly as much as this one did. So yeah, I was thoroughly surprised with this one. But yeah, we can get into it now. Let's start off with the things that we enjoyed. I'll let you go first.
yeah, I actually have a decent amount. And you kind of touched on it, which is why I'll open with it here. I do think this one has a reason to exist, which I can enjoy. I mean, I think the biggest compliment here that I can give Toy Story 5 is that it clears the late sequel bar. I mean, it feels like it was made for more than just money. Obviously, it'll bring in a ton of money, but you can still recognize the corporate machinery behind it. Like, hey, we need some money, we need some help. But the movie does have enough purpose and emotional logic to make the return feel justified. And I honestly was a big fan of the screen time slash tablet idea because it really gives the story purpose. I mean, the focus is on how tablets and screens have changed kids' relationships with, their toys. It gives the movie a real modern hook because it's something I went through. It's something I've seen other people go through, not to the degree that it has evolved on over the years, but
As well
you
as,
know,
like you mentioned, it also did, like, a good job of showing the, relationship not just with, just iPads or screens, but also kids, not just with
mhm.
toys, like, how they connect.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just, the toys are back again and the 5th movie but this one has a clear generational conflict and a reason to revisit this world and franchise. Um, and as you kinda said, the message is not just anti-technology lecturing. I mean, the movie could have easily turned into old toys yelling at the cloud. I mean, look at Woody's balding ass head. Uh,
Mhm.
but I mean, instead, the message is more thoughtful. Kids still need connection, imagination, a community around them, but the tools that they use to find that tribe may change, and that nuance kind of helped it from feeling preachy. But I mean, as you would expect from Pixar, great animation and voice acting. The Pixar polish that you still expect is still there. The animation is strong. The voice performances really kind of bring back that childhood comfort, and the familiar characters, still have an emotional pull. It's very funny. It's concise. It's good for kids. The movie knows how to be accessible. It's funny, kid friendly. It's not bloated, which I could appreciate for a fifth entry in a franchise that, in my opinion, has easily overstayed its welcome. And my last little positive here, I don't know how a lot of people feel about Conan O'Brien. I didn't know he was in this movie, but his role as this battery operated toiletry toy is just a great comedic idea. I mean, this is it's a toy that sounds like he's drunk when the battery gets low. I mean, it felt to me exactly kind of like that weird side character bit that could help help keep this story fresh. And yeah, I had no idea like half the people were in it, but I wanted to throw some flowers his way because I thought that character was really, really well done.
Yeah, I think that, in Toy Story 4, they had, Duke Kaboom, Keanu Reeves. So I feel like now in every movie they kinda introduce this side character. But yeah, he was easily the best of the side characters that they now introduce. Yeah, just like you, I have way more positives than negatives. In fact, like, I really don't have negatives per se, other than like nitpicks. But for me, you touched on the animation. Obviously, Pixar is pretty reliable in that department. What I liked about this movie in particular that was different was whenever, Bonnie or any of the kids are playing with the toys, they switch to like a 2D animation style, which they didn't do in the other films, which I liked, which was different. Um, yeah, the side characters they introduce are, like, funny. I like that, it kind of was beginning to seem a little bit like Inside Out 2, the parallels between Lilypad and, Anxiety, where it was like Lilypad is looking out for Bonnie the same way Anxiety is looking out for Riley, but they have, like, weird ways of doing it. I like that the film doesn't make Lilypad the villain, so to speak. If anything, it's just the kids that, you know, Bonnie is connected to that are treating her pretty badly. They're the ones that are like seen as like quote unquote the bad guy, but there's not a through and through villain in the movie. Not that the movie didn't need one, but I like that they didn't just make Lilypad this mustache twirling villain with like bad intentions, and in the end they all end up coming together anyway. And then I also like that once tech, as they call it, is introduced into the homes, you see Jesse and Buzz and all of the gang, they kind of have like a prejudice against tech because they've just been introduced to Lilypad and they see how it's affecting Bonnie. Then when she meets, all these other people, they see that like tech also has gone through multiple upgrades obviously. So the character you mentioned voiced by Conan O'Brien, I can't remember the name of the character right now, but yeah, he's basically used to train like a child to potty train them. So obviously as kids grow older he's not going to be used anymore. So Jesse kind of you know can understand that because her whole journey is her feeling abandoned by her owners, and she sees that tech also kind of gets thrown into a shelf or throws behind a shelf or gets thrown into a cupboard or something and gets forgotten. So I like that dynamic when they go to the other girl's house, her and Bullseye, and I like that Woody takes a back seat in this one. He's kind of just there because it's like obligatory, and it's nice to see his relationship with Buzz, but it wasn't too forced and he wasn't in the movie too much. And I like that they focus more on Jesse and it made it seem fresh. I feel like most of the movies are usually just very Woody driven. Um, and I feel like Buzz took a very big back seat and kind of regressed as a character in the fourth one. So I'm glad that in this one he was kind of back to how he was in the third movie. Um, yeah, so those are all of like the big things that I really liked. Obviously, the movie has like a lot of heart, as most Pixar movies do. Very touching scenes, and you actually get to see a lesson unfold throughout the movie. It's not just a movie for movie's sake. Like you mentioned, it has a reason to exist. So yeah, those are all of my positives. Yeah. So I guess we can go into what didn't work for us, which doesn't sound like there's many.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot, honestly, more nitpick than anything. I have 3 little points and yeah, all nitpicks. To me is, obviously it's still gonna live in the shadow of Toy Story 3 because, as I kinda said, like the 3rd movie was such a perfect emotional sign off that, every sequel after it has to justify itself. And yeah, I didn't really get that with 4, but this one I did. Um and this one, cleared the reason to exist bar, but it still doesn't top the franchise's best ending. But I mean, you could signal that to be, the first of 2 trilogies effectively. So if they do a Toy Story 6 and it has a reason
The
for
director
being
already
there.
announced they're gonna do a
Really?
sixth one.
Okay.
Bonnie's getting her own trilogy, he said.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if they do a trilogy, for each, effective arc and they have a reason to do it, then, hopefully they stop at 6, we'll see. Um And I mean, it is still a late Disney sequel. I mean, I know some people, as our generation has gotten older and they see more of these, going back to the franchises that are the cash cows and not the innovative ideas. I mean, there's always some built-in skepticism with another legacy sequel, even if it works. Um, some people, if you're having any questions on going into this movie, like you will still enjoy it. You'll still go back and still feel the weight of, Disney going back to a beloved well again. But it'll make you feel, like the older movies. And the very nitpicky one, I mean, I felt less emotionally, I guess, less emotionally devastated, if you want to call it that, less emotionally connected to this one as well as 4 than, the peak entries. Because I mean, this one is very purposeful and charming, but it's not as overwhelming as the best Toy Story films, which could be a good, could be a bad, depending on how you look at it. To me, not, I take it as a bad, but it's not really a fatal flaw, but it kind of keeps this one from reaching the very top tier of the franchise.
Okay, I can agree with that. Um, Mine are more like cautionary things for the audience, like if they're planning on going to watch it, because as I said, like I never really had like a specific problem with the movie per se. Um, so I will say that the difference between this movie, same thing with 4, as the first 3, I feel like all of Andy's toys, if you're like coming in like and but Mr. Potato Head or Rex or the piggy bank, all of them are your like favorite characters. These characters are like barely in the movie, so that's like a drawback for some people. I know that some people really like some of the side characters, some of them are indifferent, but that's just one drawback. Same thing like I mentioned before in the good thing, for me it was good that Woody kind of took a back seat, but I know for some people that might be their kid's whole you know, selling point, that they wanna see Woody, and he's not major in the movie, he's just kind of along for the ride. So, those are some drawbacks that you should know before going in if, like, you're expecting, this whole big like, another Woody arc or something. Um, Other than that, I mean, the movie, like, flew by pretty quickly, like, it didn't overstay its welcome. I would have actually liked a couple more scenes maybe of a backstory with the 3 tech toys that Jesse finds. I would have loved a little bit more characterization from them, but again, I can't, like, fault the movie for not doing it. It didn't feel like it was a missing piece to the puzzle in the plot or anything. It didn't take me out of the movie, but I would have definitely enjoyed if they kinda went more into it, and spent more time on it. But, yeah, that's all of my negatives, honestly. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
Glad you mentioned Woody because, in my opinion, this is neither a like nor dislike. Uh, but I honestly don't think Woody needed to be in this movie. I think
Yeah,
you could
it could have
have,
been without it.
yeah, like I mean, Toy Story 4, for all its flaws, was a good ending for Woody. And I can see why they brought him back, but like I don't think it was necessary. You know, he does some things, but he kind of takes a backseat to Jesse and Buzz. I do wonder what it would have looked like if you had taken him out. Like, you know, obviously some people may not have been like, you know, where's Woody? But um yeah, I mean, if you're expecting big things out of Woody, just don't let that be, you know, too surprising.
Yeah, the movie could have been completely the same with Woody not being in it. He didn't drag along the plot or do anything in particular that, you know, needed him there. And I know some people are very upset because of the ending of 4 was kinda like, finishing off Woody's story, he separates from the toys, and then in the trailer, they, like, have constant contact with each other, and he just, like, shows up, like, at the drop of a hat, basically, and people didn't like that because it's, like, it kinda diminishes the ending of the 4th one. Um, I treat the 4th one like how I treat Shrek 3, where I'm just like, I pretend it doesn't exist. Like, I don't care about whatever canon or whatever happened, honestly, in that movie. So,
Okay. I don't think 4 is that bad, but
it's
I
not
mean,
that bad, but out of, like, I it just could have easily just be omitted, like, it could just like, I just skip over it,
you could just
and
go
I
from 3 to 5
yeah,
basically.
just 3 to 5 is fine.
Fair enough.
Alright, what did you give, Toy Story 5?
You know, I haven't slapped a number on it yet. I'm still trying to work out where it's gonna fall in place, compared to other movies. But, as of right now, I have it at 4 stars.
Yeah, same here, 4 out of 5 for me. It's same rating I gave Hoppers. I liked it slightly more than Hoppers. Hoppers was more of a comedy, but the emotional highs hit way more in this for me than in Hoppers, so I have it slightly above Hoppers, but rated the same.
Very fair.
Yeah, so Pixar's doing pretty well so far this year. I don't believe they have anything else coming out. I saw a few trailers before Toy Story this weekend, and I don't believe they are Pixar movies. They might be DreamWorks Animation, but, they have some other stuff coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'm looking now, I don't think 2026 has anything else in the cards for Pixar. I think it's
Well,
all
2
next year.
great movies they released this year,
Yeah,
so
hey,
that's good
can't
for
go
them.
wrong with that.
Yeah, and Hoppers is an original thing, like, it's not like it was a sequel, because I know people just say that now Pixar is a sequel factory, so, you know, some truth in it, but not all. Um What was the other thing? Oh, yeah, I wanted to also mention, and I don't think Hoppers had it either, but, there was no short in front of this movie, and for some
Yeah.
reason, I completely forgot about the shorts, and then I didn't remember it in Hoppers because 'cause I'm pretty sure Hoppers didn't have one, but in this movie, for some reason, I was expecting one, and then I was like, "Oh, wow, they didn't do one," and then I was like, "Wait, Hoppers didn't have one." So, another thing too, yeah, if you're planning on going in to, see the Pixar shorts that used to come before them. Maybe they've just stopped doing them now, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I went in expecting one and I'm like, "Well, that was weird." And then, yeah, I didn't even think of hoppers. So, yeah, who knows?
Yeah. All right, cool. Anything else you wanna touch on with Toy Story, or are you good?
No, I'm good. Do we wanna move to mid movie or bad movie?
Let's finish off with Scary Movie. We'll finish off with the worst of the
Okay.
3. So yeah, let's tackle Masters of the Universe. Another movie that, I can't say that I enjoyed as much as Toy Story 5, but I was pleasantly surprised. I watched it surely just because not that we planned on reviewing it, like we never talked about it before, but I saw, like, that it was getting, like, low box office numbers, and I was like, "That's kind of, like, shocking," because it seemed like the movie would be, like, relatively fun, and yeah, I thought it was fun. Yeah, like, walking out of it, I'm not gonna sit here and say, I mean, obviously, I wasn't around in the '80s when the cartoon was, on, but I know, I know of He-Man and I know of, Skeletor, but I didn't know all of the aspects to the show. So yeah, just going into it, just having like an open mind, I thoroughly enjoyed it. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a big Masters of the Universe fan, but I mean, I have seen bits and pieces of the original cartoon from the '80s. Obviously, you know, He-Man and Skeletor still make their rounds as memes. So I was like, you know what, I will go give this a shot when it comes out. I wasn't expecting anything grand. but honestly, it actually turned out better than I expected. I was honestly expecting a pretty dreadful movie, um, and I actually enjoyed it. I had a really good time.
Yeah, I think that even if you're not like a huge fan, because why I'm shocked that the box office isn't really that big so far, like it seems like it's bombing, honestly, is that I mean the target audience is obviously the generation that grew up watching the cartoons, and then their I'm assuming their hope was that they would now take their kids and stuff, but it doesn't seem like people are doing it. Um, but I'm hoping that like good word of mouth, because I haven't heard anybody really say that they hated it or anything. It seems everybody's kind of in the same boat that it was a fun time. If you don't take it too seriously, it's pretty fun. So this one I also have more things I enjoyed than I did not. Um, for me, the things I enjoyed, I'm going to say perhaps it's a hot take. I think this is my favorite Jared Leto performance that I've seen. I haven't seen Dallas Buyers Club where he won the Oscar, so I have to like take my statement with a grain of salt. But he as Skeletor, I think like when you think of how you mentioned the memes that that I've seen in my introduction to Skeletor and He Man, it seems like that it's meant to just be goofy. And I think what Jared Leto did a great job of, as well as majority of the people in the cast, he leaned into Skeletor as a villain, as this 80s villain that's literally just evil for the sake of being evil. I'm pretty sure he has like a line at the end, like, oh, I'm the villain, like, whatever. And yeah, I think like you can tell that everybody in the movie was having a fun time making it. The movie wasn't taking itself too seriously either. So I wanted to shout out Jared Leto because every time Skeletor was on screen, I was like, oh yeah, I was like having a blast. Um, the production design was really cool. I enjoyed the costumes. The CGI at spots was a little, whatever, but I really enjoyed the look of all of the planets they were on, the spaceships and everything. They did a great job of all of the aspects to him going from Earth to Eternia. Um, so yeah, I enjoyed that. The casting was really well done. I think that the acting, I'll get into it with my negatives because I have some nitpicks about that. But I think that for the most part, the casting was well done. And for me, I'm not sure how you feel about this. I know Camila Mendez perhaps got her fame in Riverdale. I think that she did a very good job for what she was given. Idris Elba, I think, was the only one out of the cast that was a little bit phoning it in, but still like serviceable enough. And those are all of the positives that I had, other than like, it's a comedy. Don't take it too seriously. Just go and have a fun time. It had a few laughs. But yeah, those are the particular positives I had. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some decent overlaps. So I'll try not to go into brevity. And yeah, I mean, as you said, this movie does find a way to embrace the camp, because the movie understands that Masters of the Universe should not be embarrassed by itself. I mean, the campiness, the big fantasy energy, and the ridiculousness are all kind of part of the appeal. And even when not every joke lands, the commitment to the tone made it more enjoyable than if it tried to be overly serious. Um, and yeah, I mean the practical character work was a real pro for me, because some of the practical designs and character work were real highlights of this movie. Like they were very detailed, very well done, and for a world this strange and colorful, tactile creature and costume work goes a long way. It helped the movie feel more alive than a purely digital fantasy playground. Um, and as you said, Jared Leto as Skeletor. As you were talking, I had to look up. I'm glad you added the point about Dallas Buyers Club because I've seen Dallas Buyers Club, and I know Jared Leto gets a lot of hate. Looking at that year's supporting actor class, uh I don't know who else I would have given it to because all the performances here like were kind of like lumped together. I didn't really think there was a standout. But yeah, Jared Leto for many years has been like the blunt end of many, acting jokes between Morbin Time and, Tron and all sorts of things.
Suicide Squad.
My god, yeah, Joker, oof. Um,
I
but
literally
yeah,
said after leaving the theater, I was like, he should have just acted like the Joker like this. Like, if he had done more of this as
yeah,
the Joker, I think that people would have received it better.
yeah, that I can agree with, and I mean, I'll give my rare round of applause here because Jared Leto apparently works in this role. And Skeletor is one of those roles that could easily become, too goofy, too flat, too self-aware, but he brought enough presence to make the villain memorable. And in a movie this campy, a committed villain performance matters a lot. As a whole, I mean, yeah, this movie is entertaining despite its flaws, which we'll get into. The movie is far from perfect, but it does deliver on the basic promise. It's a big, colorful fantasy adventure that gives you enough fun to justify the ride. And for what it is trying to be, it works more often than it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. So for your negatives, I'll let you go first. Do you have many or is it kind of split 50-50?
I only have a couple points, but
Okay.
the couple points I do have are heavy. First one, in my opinion, it is way too long. Uh, I think the biggest issue is that the movie needed to be wound tighter. Because a campy fantasy adventure can be big and silly, but if and when it drags, the fun does start to wear thin. And I honestly think there is probably a stronger version of this movie hiding inside a leaner cut because this movie's almost like 2.5 hours. Like it's oof. Um, and not all of the humor lands, which like I wouldn't expect it to, but something to note. Because leaning into the campiness is the right call, but some of the jokes throughout, they do need precision. Um, and when the comedy missed, it can make the movie feel more awkward than charming. Um, and I guess overall, I mean, it's far from perfect execution. I mean, there are plenty of good parts, and they are enjoyable, but the movie is overall uneven. I would say. It has pieces of a better movie. It's fun tone, it's practical work, it's really strong villain energy. But it doesn't always pull them together cleanly. That's really all I had as far as negatives, but a kind of heavy hitter on the what they were.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't have many. I agree with your point. One of my points was that the film took a very long time to get where it needed to. And I remember literally sitting in the theater for the first, like, maybe 30 minutes. Like, I really didn't start enjoying the movie until he actually becomes He-Man. So even when he gets to Eternia and they're running around, like, until he actually becomes He-Man is when I started, enjoying it, which I probably off the top of my head was like 45 minutes into the movie, which to me is far too late for an audience member to be engaging in your film. So yeah, everything on Earth I didn't like, really. And I thought that, yes, the movie was campy. I'm fine with things being campy, but there's certain ways of doing things that, like, just aren't done properly within this film, and I feel like the dialogue in the beginning of the movie, like, it just didn't feel like actual people would talk like that, especially with them being on Earth. Like, the whole framing device is him telling the whole backstory, giving the audience all of everything that happens on Eternia and all the people, and he's saying it, like, on a date, and, like, those things just didn't work for me. Um, and the roommate also just didn't work for me. None of his comedy, him, like, always crying in, like, movies, and then, like, that whole gag, just that comedy really didn't work for me. It was literally after that when things started to, like, pick up. But yes, the movie was far too long. Um, yeah, that's basically the only thing that I was like, in the beginning, I really was like, "Wow, I'm not gonna enjoy this film. Like, if this is how the movie is gonna be the whole way through, I'm not gonna have a fun time."
Yeah, I mean, it got better. It just took
Yeah.
its time to get better.
Right, so I agree with you. They could have cut out a good amount of him being on Earth, um, and even that beginning scene of him, the whole exposition stuff from right at the beginning, I feel like they could have done a better job of just, like, him, like, us as the audience learning it once he gets to the planet, and, like, there's ways that they could have done it a little bit better, fine-tuned things. Um, Yeah, so that was my big drawback is that I was like, "Man, like, this movie" it felt like a drag in the beginning, which is never great because you wanna hook the audience right from the start, so, alright, so what did you give Masters of the Universe?
So as far as rating goes, I have it at a 6.5 out of 10.
Gotcha. Yeah, I gave it, 3 out of 5 stars. Um, I really did enjoy it way more than I thought I would because I thought that it was going to be a dull movie, even though, the trailer seemed fun. Um, it just seemed like it wasn't gonna really offer anything. But it actually was a fun time. As I said, like, once it got going, then time seemed to go by really quickly. I didn't feel as dragged down, so
Yeah, I mean, it's a good it was above my expectations, so
yeah. Oh, I also wanna shout out the score in the movie was really good at multiple parts with He-Man and him yelling, "I have the power," and everything like that. It was if you know of the cartoon and have seen the memes and everything, I feel like there's enough in this film for you to enjoy. So, I definitely say it's worth a watch.
Skeletor running away.
Yeah, I was waiting for that, or the one meme of him holding like a puppy, and it's like "I'm not nice" or something like that. Yeah, like I feel like those things would have been great. Another thing I wanted to mention that's like unfortunate because of how much I'd say I enjoyed it is not like a negative to the movie, but just everything that's going on. The movie has two post credit scene or three post credit scenes really
Mhm.
that set up sequels, but the way that the box office is going, I can see that those sequels are not going to get greenlit, I'm assuming. So it's a shame because I think, was it Shira gets, you get like a tease of her, and then Skeletor as well will return type of thing in Avengers Doomsday, that whole gag. Um, but yeah, hopefully, maybe word of mouth, it has like good legs at the last couple weeks. It's, um, at the box office. Maybe when Obsession leaves theaters, 'cause I know Obsession is still doing crazy numbers. Some of those people go and watch Masters of the Universe because I'd be willing to see a sequel or see a trilogy of these characters. They're pretty fun.
Yeah, I can agree.
Alrighty, well now we are on over to Scary Movie or Scary Movie 6, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I'm already getting the sense that you did not like this one.
So, unfortunately, that is the case. And I actually enjoy the franchise. I I'm a big defender of the first 3, especially the 3rd one. Like, I think the 3rd
Me
one
too.
gets a lot of hate that's unnecessary. Now, like, they're decent quality movies, but, like, as you get into 4 and 5, like, those movies are absolutely dreadful. Um, this one for me, like, I knew I was gonna see. I didn't have high hopes for it, and I was unfortunately let down. Like, those points were validated for me, so
Yeah, I really do like this franchise. I saw Scary Movie 5 once. That one was like literally because it went from Wayans in the first two, then the Wayans left, and then it was just Anna Faris and Regina Hall. They just stuck around, and then they brought in like Charlie Sheen, and then all of that for 3 and 4, which was fine. And then 5 was literally just like a different standalone. Like Ashley Tisdale got brought in, Anna Faris is in it. Like there, none of the people are in it
yeah.
anymore.
There was no connective tissue, like, they just brought in new people
Yeah,
just
they
for the
just
sake
wanted
of
to
it.
do a parody movie, basically, and I saw that movie once, and I don't remember it very well. I don't remember liking it, and yeah, I
That's all
don't
you need to
remember it
know.
being good. But this movie, I mean, I seem to be higher on it than you. I don't think it was the worst thing I've seen this year because I think it has to do with the expectations are different from, I guess, when we went into the theater. It sounded like maybe you were like let down, whereas I was kind of like, this is what I was expecting. Because I feel like the Wayans brothers comedy in the first two movies is kind of different than 3 and 4. And I kind of enjoyed 3 and 4's comedy more as a parody or spoof type thing. So I was expecting it to kind of go back to how, 1 and 2 were. And in that regard, I think it, did that. Like I when I left the theater, like I don't know if your Regal did this. I'm assuming that all Regals probably did. But when I watched it, they gave me like a free poster. Um, yeah. So when I was leaving, a bunch of people saw and they're like, "Oh, you watched the movie? How was it?" And I was like, "Do you like the first one and two?" And they were like, "Yeah, I like it well enough." I'm like, "You'll." It's like basically references the movie. Like you'll go in and just be pointing at the screen, going, "Oh, I get that. I get that one." And like it doesn't have for me, it didn't have any laugh out loud moments. My theater wasn't really howling with laughter or anything. But I think that it's very in the middle. Like I was very much like I left the theater and I was just like, whatever, you know. But for this one, I mean, I'll let you take. Okay, I don't have many notes on the good or the bad. I have like very quick little things that I'll mention for both, but nothing that like is extensive. I don't have a ton of things to say about this movie without getting too into like quote unquote spoilers and going on and on.
So it's funny. So if this can give you kind of like a picture or reference of where I may sit, before I give you my points. So I have all like the scary movies tagged and was able to filter out like what my scores were for each. So I'll give you my scores for the first five, and after we're done, when we announce our ratings, I'm gonna have you give me a prediction, and I will then reveal the final number. Uh, so Scary Movie 1, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. 2, I gave a 6.6 out of 10. 3, I gave a 6.9 out of 10. All pretty good movies. Scary Movie 4, I gave a 1.6 out of 10.
Harsh.
And Scary Movie 5, I gave a point 0.1 out of 10. Take those for what you will.
Point one is tough.
Yeah, it like
Um,
so close to a 0.
um, yeah, that's tough. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say. But yeah, I'll let you. Yeah, we can. Let's start with the negatives this time.
okay. Um, I know it's probably sounds like I have a lot. I only have a handful. Um,
The movie doesn't have much of anything going on. If like you're going in
yeah.
thinking it like has like this deep thing, like it literally like when I tell you, it's literally just like, oh shit, the Wayans haven't been around since when was Scary Movie 2? Like early 2000s, late 90s. They basically are like, well, shit, like we have so many scary movies that we've missed out on. So they're like referencing shit from like 10, 15 years ago and have to cram everything in.
Yeah,
So,
the first one was 2000, 2 was 2001, 3 was 2003.
okay. Okay. So yeah, early 2000s.
Um,
But
yeah, I
anyway,
mean,
go on.
my main point for this one for me is like I think the spoofs honestly stop the movie dead in its tracks because
Hmm.
I think the biggest issue is that the references that they give you do not feel naturally woven into the story. And instead of jokes building from the plot, the movie pauses so the audience can recognize the thing being parodied. And that made the comedy feel lazy rather than clever, in my opinion. Um, and with that, the jokes lacked purpose. I mean, I think the best parody works because the jokes find a way to sharpen the story or exaggerate the genre. But here, the spoof seemed to become the whole point. And that turned the movie into a checklist of references instead of an actual comedy for me. And even with the comedy, there was not enough nuance in it. Nobody needed Scary Movie 6 or the Scary Movie reboot to be a masterpiece, but I mean, the jokes still need craft behind it. And as you can see from the other movies, I mean, the franchise has proven it can be smarter and more structured than this. And overall, like, I think this is a weak continuation of a franchise that used to work. And my disappointment comes from, knowing this series has had real comedic highs. Whereas this entry just misunderstands what made the better installments funny.
Yeah, and it's very shocking. Like you would think that this movie wasn't written by the Wayans. Like when you look back at like even the first one, which you had rated at a 7.5, very, like a maverick of its time, like very different type of spoof movie that we've seen making fun of, horror films. And they did it like so much more controlled. And this movie was just completely out of it, like you mentioned, and that's what really, like, was my big thing with this movie coming out of it, is that I think I really have 1 point for the negatives and 1 big point for the positives, but my big thing is kinda what you already touched on and what I've been saying, is that it just felt like reference the movie, whereas the first one, even I can't even say just the first one, but the first 4, I feel like at least they had, like, one movie that they were doing a parody of that was the main movie, and it follows along, like, that plot kind of. As the series went on, like, 3 and 4 had, like, more movies thrown in, the 4th one had The Grudge going on, and then you had War of the Worlds, and all these things were getting thrown in. But they still had, like, they found a way in like a comedic way to tie all of those plots together, even if they didn't need to make sense. It's meant to just be funny. This movie, like, I couldn't figure out what movie they were trying to go based off of. Like I said, I feel like they were kind of like, what, we have to just fit all of these movies we missed out on since, what was it, 2002, when they did their last movie.
2003, yeah.
2003. And yeah, that means that they're referencing stuff from Get Out, which is almost 10 years old now. They're referencing things from, more modern stuff, like they have Sinners references in there, obviously the new Scream movie that has come out. But they're referencing like all of these things, like they got The Substance in there from a few years ago. They've got Megan in there. Like they even have like a thing with Nosferatu that they just like threw in at the post credits or whatever. It's just like how you put it, is just like it stops the film, um, which doesn't make the film really have a chance to get rolling with the jokes, because it's just like, oh, they set up a scene and then you know that it's just gonna, turn into something, ridiculous. Oh, Wednesday was obviously, also mentioned because the girl's name is Tuesday in this and she plays a big part. But yeah, there's literally a scene where they're at like a Halloween party at the end, and this whole time the three kids have been like kind of interacting with the old group from the first two films, and they just do like a random parody of Remick from Sinners, where the kids show up and they're like, oh, we heard Tale of a, and I'm like, you guys know them, like that doesn't make any sense for the reference. I get the reference you're doing, but like in the context of the characters, like why would they be, so things like of that nature just like kind of upset me, where I was like, they could have done much better with these references, or honestly just like cut down on some of them, because I don't think anybody would have been upset that we didn't get a Get Out reference or the substance. Like those things didn't even play part in the movie. So yeah, that's it. Oh, I did tell everybody that there was a K-pop demon reference, and like I thought some people would really get a kick out of that because they
Yeah.
loved K-pop Demon Hunter. So
Hey, it was a good movie.
yeah. So, yeah, I'll just say my quick one big positive, where, I mean, I can't even say it was fully fleshed out, but it was an idea that I thought was very interesting. And this goes into spoilers, so definitely don't listen to this part if you're in on, don't want to get spoiled for this whole movie. Just come back and, listen after you've seen it. But in the end, we find out that the two Ghostface killer, or one of the two, or two of the many Ghostface killers, I should say, are the Wayans brothers, like Shorty and Ray. And I thought that was interesting because they were kind of becoming very meta and were coming after Brenda and Cindy for doing Scary Movie 3 and 4 without them. And then they even bring back Anthony Anderson, who was in 3 and 4, and Shaq, who was in the beginning of 4. So I thought that that meta thing of, it's like the Wayans brothers as these characters are like taking revenge on all the characters that agreed to continue the franchise without them, like steal their franchise, so to speak. I was like, that could have been very, I mean, like it's meta and it's goofy, but it could have been interesting. But they never fully flesh it out. Like they kind of bring it up at the end as kind of a gotcha. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. How's this going to play out? And it ends up being like a very stupid joke in the end. Um, and yeah, that, like, I feel like they had semblances of that throughout the movie that they could have like built on ideas more, but they were like too busy just like, oh no, we have to fit a reference in here. We don't have time for that. So that's my only big thing, is I don't even think the comedy was like great in this movie. I can't remember a time that I actually like laughed. I was just sitting in the theater like chuckling at like, oh, I get the reference, like, oh, and they would say certain things. But yeah, I can't, that's the only positive, is that I think like there were inklings of good ideas, which is not a great statement for your movie, that like the only good thing to say is that there were inklings of good ideas and that they didn't even follow through. But yeah, that's all I have to say on the positive note. Everything else was very meh to bad for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have a small handful, but again, it's nothing substantial. I mean, as you all have heard from my scores from the other movies, this one is slightly better than the previous two entries. That is not exactly glowing praise, but I do think this is at least a small improvement. And I mean, the franchise has been in a rough place, so even being a hair better is something. And the franchise, still has proof of concept. Like the frustrating part is that scary movie can work, and as I said, the first three movies, especially the third, understood that spoofs should serve the movie, not stop the movie. And I do think there's still a version of this franchise that can be funny, sharp, and story driven. And as we've kind of said, some recognition based comedy may land for fans. I mean, there are a few. I remember that moments that get quick laughs. Pull out the Leonardo DiCaprio like pointing and be like, "Whoa." But for viewers, who just want a parade of references, there may be small bits of enjoyment.
There's really nothing else to yeah, I think you put it perfectly. Like, if you just want to sit there and, like, play a game of Where's Waldo of references like,
You'll
"Oh,"
get that.
yeah, that's honestly what you'll get throughout this movie. The movie doesn't have a minute where it's not referencing something else, honestly. So, if that's what you like, then this movie's for you. Wasn't for me, but, you know.
Definitely was not for me.
Alright, well, I'll go ahead and guess that you gave this probably, like what'd you say you gave the 4th one? You have the 4th one like a 1.5 out of 10 or
One
something?
1.6. 5 was at a point one.
You probably gave this one, like, in the 1s as well, or maybe like a 2, like, something like that, like, somewhere I'll say 2 out of 10.
You were right on the money. 2 out of 10.
Yeah. Um, I was close. I just gave this a 2 out of 5.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
see, I legit gave it 1 star on Letterboxd. Like, I'm just
Uh,
get out.
yeah, I didn't for me, my metric so that people can understand when I'm, like, rating things, especially on Letterbox, and even here when we're talking, I feel like a movie, like, actually needs to like, when I'm leaving the theater, I need to be mad. So, it seems like this movie kind of upset you more than it did me, like, I kinda felt like, yeah, the references were too much, but I was like, I don't love the Wayans brothers comedy. Like, I find Shawn Wayans funnier than Marlon Wayans, but for some reason, Marlon is, like, the one that, like, has more notoriety. Because I find, like, his character is way funnier, like, his whole gag of, like, the gay thing that he's got had going on since the first movie to me is, like, a funnier thing than, like, Shorty he's just stoned all the time. Um, but, yeah, I was just like I went into it and I was like whatever, and I left, and I was like, it didn't make me any happier or any less happy, so I was just like, "Mm." It didn't do great, but I was like, it didn't make me mad like some other movies, like, they were literally, like feel like I wasted my time watching it, you know? So,
See,
2
I
out of
mean,
5.
for me, three-word review, this shit stunk. I mean, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah, but it's making good money, so there's gonna be a Scary Movie 7, I'm sure, and, people seem to the nostalgia seemed to really work because it seems like a lot and I mean, they did a lot of marketing for this movie, like, on it coming out, like, it was all over billboards, I saw, like, so many trailers, they had, like, that whole I don't know if it was AI or something where it's, like, people could type in and tell Ghostface to do whatever. So,
Yeah, I did see
the
that.
movie
That
was,
was
like,
AI.
marketed yeah, the movie was, like, marketed really well. So we'll see what happens in the future. I mean, like, if they do another one, but it's not, maybe we'll just give this one like a pass because they had so much to catch up on. So maybe by the time they make seven, they won't have to rely on references. Um, but we'll see what happens in the future. So yeah, 2 out of 5 for me. Don't love it. I think I actually enjoyed four more. I like thought four was funnier than this. Like I enjoyed that one more. Just I think, like, honestly, the Dr. Phil and Shaq opening scene from 4 was funnier than, like, everything in this movie to me.
That I can agree with, because yeah, like, that scene alone for me in 4 was, like, the only positive, and then, yeah, I
"Just
could I
make
could
the
see that.
damn basket."
Yeah, it ain't hard.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. Anything else to say about Scary Movie 6 slash Scary Movie reboot?
No, I'm good. I've
All
exhausted
righty.
all my energy on that one.
All righty. Well, then that does it for this episode. We will, I mean, by the time this episode comes out, it'll be Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to everyone.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Take care, everybody.